All right, so we're going to go over my trades for the day here. MSGM is up 244%. I'm still holding a small position at 889. This is right up against resistance here at the high, so I'm just going to set my stop at break even on the rest. Control B is a stop at break even, so I use that sometimes when I'm just sort of content to either get stopped out or maybe it goes a little higher. So it looks like it just stopped me out there at 89. But in any case, so MSGM got some trades on it today. It wasn't the easiest, and I'm at a point where I'm honestly a little frustrated. I just had a nice trade on it on that move right here, which was good, but I've churned some commissions on it. I spun my wheels a bit. It was tricky. So like we had this nice little breakout right here. That was a good trade. Also had a nice trade right around 820. Sorry, right around 820 down here. As you see it goes higher, notice these candle wicks, especially on a 10-second chart, how it taps these highs. So it just hit 950, and now it's back on the bid at 920. So you look at the level 2, look at that 890. So 890, then it's 9. I mean, this thing is jumping around. You get in at 909 there. You've got 916 on the ask, 908 on the ask, 903 on the bid, 905. You're looking at the bid, you're checking the ask, you're looking at the ask, you see green on the tape. There's 19, there's 20, there's 22, but a little stack of sellers. It comes back down, 12 on the bid. So you're in right now a 1-minute pullback, but notice this blue resistance line. You're right underneath this line that I drew from way earlier pre-market. So that line was based on this consolidation that we had in this area. So my first trade on MSGM was pretty early. I came over to my office around 7, a little after 7 a.m. This is a 10-second chart. I'm going to switch to the 1-minute chart for this view. So came over here around 7 a.m. and we had this first squeeze right there, right at 7. I missed that trade. It drops down, it pulls back. Let's see, this was at 7. Sorry, that was at That was at 4 a.m. I missed that trade at 4 a.m. That was when the news had come out from overnight. It pulls back. Then we got this spike right here at 7 a.m., which I missed. It was then around 7:15 that I sat down. I got this dip trade right here at about 7:15 off the 20 moving average. That was my first trade of the day. Little dip. It comes back up. It hits a high of 775. Wasn't able to break through that level. Sells off. Comes back up again, 775. Got another dip trade right here. This was a double bottom. Comes back up again, 775. Son of a gun, this cannot break that level. What is going on? Down again. Bought another dip. And now I'm just taking profit at 760, 770. I just wasn't expecting it was going to actually break this level. It sells off, comes back up again, get back in. It hits a high only of 8, pulls back, breaks 8, it goes up to about 854 right here. So this move right here was what put me up to about 4,000 on the day, on the stock. I have 4,000 on the stock, but I was not up 4,000 on the day because I had taken a loss on WISI, which I'll show you in a second, WISI. So I did not get back in down here at this low of 7. I wish I had, but I didn't. I didn't even get back in until this green candle here when it was breaking through 770. And because I was getting in high, I'm in at 770 and I'm getting out at 785, 15 cents of profit. These were a bunch of 5 to 15 cent winners today. You know, this dip down here was a dip off of like 745. It goes up to 770. That's only 30 cents total from bottom to top, and I only captured half of it, roughly 15 cents. So 15-cent winner there. You know, another 5 cents on this attempt. This was a better one here. This one I took with 10,000 shares, and I made about, I think it was $1,500 on it. So that was about 15 cents on that bounce. A couple of small, like 4 or 5 cent winners through here. A couple of losers too, but nothing big, tight stops. Then it comes back up here. I sort of missed it. I think I was looking at something else. It pops, take that trade there, get back in for the break of 8. It hits a high of 807. It dips back down to 790. It breaks 807. It rips up to 830. That was a good trade. I took 10,000 shares there on the break of 807. That was a nice pop up to 830. Again, only about 15 cents, but with bigger size on that one. False breakout here. I gave back some profit on that. I got in for the break of 850. And look at those topping tails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 topping tails in a row. Now let's look at the current chart. So see how it's starting to make a new high here? It's like it's trying to break. And this is what it's kept doing, is it keeps tapping levels and then flushing. And so let's see what it does here. Right? Right? Look at that. Come on, man. That is frustrating. Hits a high of 950 and the flush. At least it's predictable. It's still frustrating to see, but at least it's predictable. So, you know, I'm over it. And that's not the first time it did that. It did that here. It did that here. So that's the third kind of big one that it's done. I don't like seeing that stuff. It's frustrating. You know, I mean, trading is difficult. I mean, there's no question about it, but those are really frustrating moves. So, you know, one of the things I mentioned the other day, I've been doing these shorts on YouTube, just basically answering one question a day that a trader posts in the comments. So one question the other day was, how do I predict false breakouts? So how did I predict that false breakout right there? Well, this stock is already given a history of doing that. It has like 5 dojis in a row. It then attempts and then flushes. 5 dojis in a row. It attempts and then flushes. You know, again, a bunch of topping tails, bottoming tails. It attempts and then flushes. This was a little bit easier because we were right against this resistance line. But when a stock has shown that it likes to do that, it tends to sort of set the tone that is going to keep happening as the day goes on. Now, you will get some perhaps that do break out. And that's what's even more frustrating, is occasionally they do break and you miss it. But then enough of these are false breakouts that you start to get pretty cautious. I also look at the MACD. This MACD, you know, pulling away and opening is good. Once it starts coming back down, that's not as great. Of course, you can see it was already starting to turn before that candle, but that candle made it worse. This one here, it was already starting to kind of cross back down. This here starting to cross back down. So I'm trying to trade when the MACD is like beginning the crossover and pulling away, not sort of at the end of the move. Again, that's just a little indicator that helps a little bit to avoid some of these false breakouts. Indicators are, you know, they're no indicators 100%. So it is an educated intuition thing. One of the things that's interesting on this company is that the news out, they have a couple of headlines. One was regaining compliance. The other was announces a debt for equity exchange. So these debt to equity exchanges, I've talked about these before. Basically, you know, in short, what happens is a investor comes in and says, hey, I see you've got $1 million of debt on your books. I'll give you $1 million, but I want in exchange shares. And because I'm taking the risk of giving you the $1 million, I want those shares at a, you know, 25% discount over the current trading price, maybe a 50% discount over the current trading price. And listen, the company doesn't want to dilute the value of its stock like they would. This is kind of like a secondary offering, except in this case, the debt gets paid off, which looks good on the balance sheet, and then the shares are issued to this investor. And so most likely an investor got shares at a favorable price. And now today, with the stock being up 250%, they're sitting in a really nice position. So they were repaying $1 million of debt. Trying to see how many shares they got. I thought I saw it this morning, but now I'm looking for it and I'm not seeing it. It was several 100,000 shares. Might have been 300,000. I'll have to look for it. Oh, it's 338,000 shares in exchange for debt equaling $1 million, right? So they got 300,000 shares priced at, approximately $3 a share. 300,000 shares, right? 338,000. Well, now the stock's at $9. So, I don't know whether or not, I didn't look into this super closely. I'm really primarily just trading the price action, but, there's now someone out there with 300,000 shares up 6 points a share. So 3 times 6, that's $1.8 million. They paid off $1 million alone and they're already, or $1 million of debt, and they're already at 1.8 million. That's a pretty good ROI, right? So, we see this kind of stuff happen. Today, there's 20 million shares of volume. So there was certainly more than enough volume. If they wanted to sell today, they could have sold today. They could have taken that profit off the table. Maybe we'll find out in filings later in the week whether or not they did. They might not have. They don't always, right? Sometimes they'll keep holding. It depends on the objectives of that investor and also the terms of the exchange. They may not be allowed to sell, on day one. But in any case, that was the news. I was a little bit unsure about whether that was really a strong enough catalyst to warrant it being up as much as it was. And I attributed that maybe to why it was a little choppy in some of these areas. But the fact is, it's got 20 million shares of volume. The price is $9 a share. So you've got, 50 plus million, almost $100 million, maybe more of volume today. You could measure the dollars in volume based on every share traded and at the different prices it traded. But, the low is like 7. So, 7 times 2, so 14. So 140 million shares of volume, $140 million in volume, probably at the minimum. That's a lot. It's a lot of volume. So it could have easily, absorbed the 300,000 shares that were, given in this exchange and could have been sold, but they may still be held. Anyway, so right now you're back in this consolidation. I could see it breaking out again. I mean, I could see it at least trying. It's a 5-minute setup. It's at the highs. So relatively, it is holding up well. As I said, I mean, I do kind of question the strength of the catalyst, but, maybe shorts thought it was a pretty weak catalyst and went short, and now they're getting squeezed out. And at a certain point, you've got to cut your losses. So here it's coming up for a second attempt at this level. And see how that time, it just blows through, right? So that just went basically from 50 to 80 in like 2 orders. And super frustrating. If you're someone who bought on this one and got chopped out, it comes back up for the second try. And that time it goes. I just don't want to overstay my welcome on it, because seeing red candles like that, one of those could wipe out your day. So I think that this is a market and this is a stock where you get green and you get out of the way. You don't overstay your welcome. You have to be grateful to be green. And maybe you're going to leave money on the table, but you know what? It's always better to leave money on the table when you're walking away with profit in your pocket. Because on the other side, I am certain that there are traders who lost money on this stock today, going long, and they threw in the towel, max loss, maybe down here. Or maybe they threw in the towel, max loss down here. And when they see this going up, they're going to be super frustrated. And if they hear that you're disappointed that you're up only fill in the blank, whatever you're up, they'd be pretty annoyed at you. So be grateful for being green, if you are green. If you're not, study the chart and try again tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day. Don't get bent out of shape. It's the last day of the month. Some days are going to be a little cleaner than others. This one, even in my opinion, having traded for a long time, while some of the rejections were predictable, the price action was not the cleanest that I've ever seen. And that's why I'm sitting up maybe only 5,300 on the stock, and I'm not at 10,000 on the day. Maybe it starts to pull away here, or maybe right here it's going to go into another period of choppy consolidation like you have right here. My biggest loss of the day was on WISA. Same as yesterday. I bought the stock yesterday. I lost on it, bought it today. Yesterday, it ended up going up 4 points in the afternoon. This morning, it started to squeeze up. I jumped in, got caught in the near top of this candle, lost $1,300. So that was not clean. That was disappointing. That put me in the red on the day today. If by 1,300. So that was my second trade of the day. So it was red $1,300, and from there, had to recoup some losses. So I'm just glad to be green. It's the last day of the month. I'm up $4,000, leaving some money on the table, but walking away with profit in my pocket. That's discipline. The last thing I want to do is FOMO long into this thing and punch that buy button up here at 11 and then catch another 75-cent candle to the downside and go from up 4,000 on the day to up only 500 or 1,000, or be break even, or be red. So for those of you that are still trading, those that have the risk tolerance to keep pushing it, you're on the front side of the move right now. It's moving higher, but you've got 3 big green candles in a row, so maybe due for another pullback. Manage your risk. It's still early in the day, so manage your risk. And remember, as always, you want to live to trade another day. So don't let yourself get too bent out of shape today with maybe not fully capitalizing on one particular stock, because tomorrow is a brand new day. All right, that's it for me. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you back at it first thing tomorrow morning.